What is up? What is up, Karma Nation? Welcome into another edition of our MLB Live podcast. It is Thursday, April 29th. We have arguably the worst slate of the entire season. It was 5 games. Then the Detroit-Chicago game is now a doubleheader. So with that being 7 innings, instead of keeping the 5 games, oddly, they dropped it down to 4. I'm your host, Bales. I'm here with Rube. Before we get into it, James, how are you doing today?
I'm good, Bales. How are you? I'm pretty surprised that they took that White Sox game off. They've kept a bunch of these doubleheaders on some slates. I actually think there's some like interesting game theory elements to those 7-inning games. I mean, we saw Bumgarner throw the complete game. Just that added like bonus to a potential complete game makes pitching a little bit more interesting. But maybe this will be standard practice for them going forward, removing those doubleheaders.
Yeah, it was really weird because we've had a lot of them this year. Like, they've removed some and they've left others, and it felt like if you're going to leave one, like a 5-game slate is a good slate to actually leave it, because at least it gives you a few more options. But we're down to 4 games now. Pitching is really, really weak. I think we kind of talked about it on this. I said that I think that Trevor Bauer gets over 90% ownership tonight. That's actually ridiculously high, but with this bad of pitching, I do think that in cash games, that's probably going to happen. We'll go over pitching to start the slate, though. And Rube, let me know who you're looking at, because it feels like there's 2 options that are basically going to be the chalk and cash. And then, I don't know, there's probably like maybe 2 more tournament options for me. So you go ahead and outline what you're looking at. Start.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be awesome if I could get on here and talk about diversifying off of Bauer somehow, some way, but I just don't see the possibility to do it. Not only I mean, is he the only elite pitcher on the slate? But he gets this Brewers lineup that we've been wanting to attack with pitching. So, I mean, the stars align for him. So you kind of have to jam him in. And then for me, the second option would be Luke Weaver against this Rockies team that we've liked to pick on. I mean, we saw Alex Wood dominate them last night. Yes, a little bit better hitting environment here in Arizona compared to when they were in San Fran last night. But I mean, there are a good amount of strikeouts in this Rockies lineup. National League park and matchup, so no DH, unfortunately. But yeah, those look like the two guys for me. I will throw out one interesting GPP one guy who's, I mean, looked okay this year. He had a really good start. I believe it was 2 times ago, and that's Kyle Gibson. I mean, it's difficult to go up against this Red Sox lineup, but we just saw DeGrom and David Peterson dominate them over the last 2 games. Obviously, Kyle Gibson is not in the DeGrom tier of pitchers, but still, there are some strikeouts here in this this Red Sox lineup if you can navigate the dangerous middle of the order.
Yeah, I think it's pretty clear that in cash you're going to go Trevor Bauer, Luke Weaver. They're by far the best 2 plays, in my opinion. I also believe that Kyle Gibson is the top tournament play. I wrote him up. He's actually a good pitcher. I know his numbers last year weren't great, but all of his advanced metrics have been good legitimately his entire career. He had the one really bad start, I believe the first one of the season, but I believe he's also had 3 starts this year where his xFIP ended under 3 in those games. So if you kind of exclude the one really, really bad start, he's been really, really good. And then I think on the other side, if you want to take like a ridiculous shot, Martin Perez is 5,700. He doesn't have basically any strikeout upside, but the Rangers are a team that does strike out quite a bit. They're not really an offense that you're going to be overly worried about. And with the Red Sox being favorites, you could grab the win with him. It's just an atrocious slate when I'm actually talking about Martin Perez might be in my GPP pool. But I think that overall, Bauer and Weaver are in tier 1, Kyle Gibson's in tier 2, and then Martin Perez is more like in tier 4 or 5, just with no pitchers sitting in 3, potentially 4. So I think we can move on to stacks. Where are you looking at here? It just seems so weird because you're thinking like there's no pitching. We have a ton of stacks that we can choose from. And because there's 4 games, we really don't have many. But who are you looking at to stack tonight?
Yeah, I definitely think it's an interesting slate for the bats. I think this is where you can kind of get a little bit different tonight if you're going to go with the chalk pitchers, Bauer and Weaver. I mean, you can really go to basically anyone, right? Like that's kind of how I feel on this slate. Like if you told me you were playing any of these stacks outside of probably the Brewers, I'd be like, okay, like you're not crazy, kind of is the way that I feel. So, I mean, obviously we've seen what the Braves have done. I mean, they put up a 10 spot last night. Ozale, I mean, if he gets any ownership at all, I know we were talking a little bit before the stream on who we think might catch some ownership. If Ozale or anyone like Martin Perez or Kyle Gibson, like if they're going over owned, I want to be on the other side. I want to leverage stack against that for sure. And you can make the same argument for Luke Weaver. I mean, the Rockies could end up being extremely low owned if we get Luke Weaver like at 35-40% owned in tournaments here. If he's the consensus number 2 option, they could be a nice leverage stack, especially if we get a good lineup from them with Tapia and McMahon, Trevor Story, CJ Cron. I mean, good hitting environment in Arizona as well. So, I mean, is basically everyone, is that a cop-out answer with like the Dodgers kind of, I mean, the Dodgers probably stand out as going to be the chalk stack?
Yeah, I would say the Dodgers are probably chalky, and I think that Atlanta will probably get a little bit of ownership as well. They also have the best 2 Vegas lines so far, the highest implied team totals, with Atlanta being the only team that sits above 5. I'll say that I agree. I think that literally any stack tonight outside of Milwaukee is reasonable. And if Bauer gets lit up by Milwaukee, like it is what it is, but I'm not going to take my shot there. The one stack that I feel like sticks out to me is the Chicago Cubs. I don't like Bryce Wilson. I don't think that he's good. Tomlin's is supposed to come in after him. I don't like Atlanta's bullpen. Like there's not much pitching that I really really like in that game, and obviously the Cubs haven't scored a run in 2 games. It's kind of a I don't it's a good spot to pick on them because no one's going to play them because they've been so bad. But when you look at what they were doing prior to that, they scored 7 against the Braves. They put up 15 and 16, both back at home, but it kind of is what it is. They scored 13 against the Braves earlier. Like there is a lot of upside throughout this lineup. And it just seems like because they've been bad over their last 2 games, which were against significantly better pitchers, they're really not going to go owned whatsoever. How do you feel about the Cubs?
No, I agree. I mean, this is the perfect kind of pod where we could talk a little game theory stuff because we don't have a ton to break down. Like you brought it up in Discord last night. You were on the Nationals. You recommended to someone just on the other side of that Toronto and Washington game last night, and that ended up being the stack that you needed to take down GPPs. I mean, their implied run total was less than a point less than the Blue Jays. The Blue Jays were going to be chalk, and the Nationals weren't, when we knew that Steven Matz was due for some regression. I mean, he was pitching out of his mind, and this kind of feels like the same kind of scenario. We're not throwing Brian Wilson, the Bryce Wilson tonight. I mean, good hitting environment for the Cubs. Why would we not play the Cubs? We have a cheap option in Matt Duffy. We have Rizzo in an elite spot for only $4K. I mean, this is the kind of stack that allows you to get Bauer in your lineups today. I couldn't agree more that the Cubs are in a great spot, and I might be on a couple of them tonight.
I like to hear it. One more thing to add about the Cubs as to why they're such a good stack. Wilson has given up 2 home runs in both of his games. He's thrown, I believe, 4 and 5 innings. So he's basically given up 4 home runs over 9 innings this season. There's plenty of power in the Chicago offense to really pop off here. But we can move to position by position. Starting at catcher, who are you looking at here? It doesn't look like we have many cheap options besides Trevino, who I actually do think is a good play. But who are you looking at a catcher?
Yeah, I think Trevino's going to end up being the chalk just because he's 3.3K and cheap. If I was spending up, I don't know if I'm able to get up to, I haven't fully built yet, so I don't know if I can get all the way up to Wilson Contreras, but obviously we just talk up the Cubs. But I think Will Smith and Trevino are probably going to be the chalk catchers for today, and I'm fine with either of them. We don't get a lefty today for our guy Carson Kelly, quietly the best hitting catcher in baseball right now.
Yep. No, I agree with Carson Kelly being the best. I actually said it on the pod yesterday that Carson
He's
Kelly.
Unreal. So you said it on the pod yesterday. I wrote up the exact same thing in my article yesterday that I had, the slate breakdown. I was like, how is no one talking about Carson Kelly just lighting the world on fire right now?
Yeah, that dude is going more overlooked than anyone in the league, especially against left-handed pitching, because he is phenomenal. I think for me, I mean, I'm fine spending down with Trevino. I like the matchup. He's hitting 6th. It's not like you're getting a catcher that's hitting 8th. And then I agree that Will Smith probably gets some ownership. I have no problems going up to Contreras if you can. I also think that Travis d'Arnaud actually is pretty appealing at only 4,600, especially if the ownership's going to go to Smith. I would probably just pivot to d'Arnaud. That's probably about it. Yeah, because I was initially thinking like Dom Nunes because I assume he was going to be significantly cheaper, but for 4,500, that's just such a ridiculous price tag, you know?
Yeah, it feels like there's, I feel like they've done this, they've done it less this season, not as much dynamic pricing early on here from DraftKings. Like these were the prices of these guys when they were in cores, and it like isn't adjusted for them out of cores. So they're kind of unplayable when they're out of cores right now if they're not going to do any dynamic pricing.
Yeah, that definitely seems like it's the case. We can move to first base. Man, it feels like you're just playing Freddie Freeman. I don't know. Do you feel the same way?
I like Freeman for sure. I mean, I think Rizzo for 1,300 cheaper is a great play as well. He's leading off today. So, on the road, guaranteed probably 4 or 5 at bats here. Definitely a spot that I like to attack. Yeah, I think staying in that game, either Rizzo or Freeman are my favorite two options. And then if I had to get off the board with another guy, you could look to potentially Pavin Smith. He's first base outfield eligible. Just leading off potentially against Senzatella with a 5 total, but that's kind of it for me. I think I'm going to stick with that Rizzo Freeman combo in that Cubs Braves game. We're all over this Cubs Braves game today. It sounds like, Bales.
Yeah, no, I really like it. I think that Freeman and Rizzo are in a tier of their own. Matt Duffy is hitting third and 2,400. If you
Yep.
want to go there, I have no issues. And then this is kind of weird, but I'll take any of the three first base eligible guys for Arizona, which is Pavin Smith that you talked about, Matheson, and Asdrubal Cabrera. I think that any of those three are fine against Senzatella. That probably is about what I'm looking at. I don't really have any issues with like Max Muncy. I know a lot of people avoid him lefty, but he's been historically good against left-handed pitching, so I have no issues whatsoever there. I think that breaks down first base pretty well, though, and we can move on to second. Again, this feels like Ozzy Albies is going to be the chalk. I don't know if you disagree with that.
No, completely agree. Ozzy. Yeah,
I believe you
I don't
just
even know who competes with him. I guess Muncie or Chris Taylor you could play, but you got to be all over Albies in this spot, right?
Yeah, I think Albies is by far the best option here. I think I'm fine with Muncie Taylor, but I think my number two would probably be Nick Solak, just
Okay.
because I really like the matchup and he's been playing really well. Also
Yeah, he's been
4,600.
on he's been on fire. He's been on absolute fire.
Yeah, I think that's probably it, honestly. Is there anyone else that you would even consider? Like, I can't imagine paying 5,100 for Ryan McMahon here.
No, no. He's unplayable if he's 9 cores. I think Solak just took Quintana deep, didn't he? The other day?
Yeah,
Another
I
lefty.
believe he did. I played Quintana.
Yep. Yeah, I did as well. Yeah, I probably shouldn't have brought that up, but yep.
Yep. No, yeah, Solak's been really, really good to start the season. I have no issues with him. I think I actually probably would have, yeah, I think he's my second option because I just feel like with him being slightly more expensive than either Taylor or Muncie, he probably gets a little less ownership with Albies more or less taking all of it at 4,900. So I do think that Solak's a really good play.
I've got one cheap option that I just saw. Sheldon Noose hitting eighth for the Dodgers. If you need that value, potentially play like him and then Mookie, kind of like wrap it around a little bit.
Mhm.
Obviously, it's the NL, so you have Bauer thrown in the middle of them, but a little something like that could work.
Yeah, I don't have any issues with that. I was going to say him just in case you needed salary relief, but
Yeah. I
I
don't think
find it.
you need to with Duffy. Because perfect transition here to third base. I think Matt Duffy
Yep.
is a great third base play here.
Yeah, I completely agree. Who do you think ends up being the chalk here? Because you have guys like Chris Bryant, Austin Riley in the game that we want to attack. You have guys like Matt Duffy, who's just super cheap. Then you have other options that are playing a guy like Senzatella. And then at 5K, you have the lefty masher Justin Turner against a weak left-handed pitcher. So where do you think the chalk ends up being?
I was just gonna say, I think you're burying the lead a little bit. I think it's got to be Justin Turner here. Yeah, he's expensive at
Yeah.
5K. I think for me, it's either all the way up to Turner or all the way down to Matt Duffy. I think Matt Duffy's going to be really popular today just because of the price. On a short slate, you got to find value somewhere, and why not have it be with the near min price guy hitting third for a Cubs team with a middle of the road total here.
Yeah, I think that definitely makes sense. I think the only thing that could stop Duffy's ownership from just being absolutely ridiculous is that you have like Freddie Freeman and Rizzo at first, which it's not going to be hard to fit Rizzo in. And then I do think that a lot of people play Justin Turner. So those are the two positions that you have to play Matt Duffy at. So it's
Yeah.
not like I don't think many people are going to look at it and just immediately plug Duffy in. It's at least going to be a decision of how they construct their rosters.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. And that kind of does make Sheldon Noose there at second base because he has a value at second, like a little interesting if you did want to do the double spend up at first and third and jam in Bauer. That does that is pretty interesting.
Yep, I think moving to shortstop, I mean, Corey Seager at 4,800 just seems way too cheap. I know it's
Yep.
lefty lefty, but he's still hitting second. A little bit of salary relief, I guess two guys. Kenner Falelfa. I can't ever say his name correctly.
I actually was
Uh,
watching the Rangers game last night and they said his name. And I said to myself, oh, I have to remember that one because I haven't been good at pronunciating it. And I don't remember either right now how to say it.
yeah, that sounds right for pods, but he's leading off. Obviously, really good matchup. He's only 3,900, and then hitting sixth in the lineup that we love is Dansby Swanson, who's still only 3,600. So there is a little bit of salary relief. You're not getting anything too ridiculous here. But is there anyone else that you're looking at for shortstop?
Man, it's tough. I mean, we already talked about how we want to spend up here at first and third base. I think shortstop isn't a priority spend for me if I was going to do it. It'd obviously be Seager. Baez back in the lineup. What they benched him, right? These past two games, it wasn't even an injury situation. I think they just gave him, some mental days to try to correct that 60% whiff rate right now. I
They
mean,
said, they said that what they said was he had a slight left hamstring strain.
yeah, I'm
So,
sure. I'm sure he did. Yep. Yeah, I'm sure he did. Nico Horner would have been fun on this slate, hitting near the top of the order if
mhm.
this is the slate that we needed him on. But yeah, I mean, for shortstop, you said it. Lefty on lefty with Corey Seager, not scared at all. I mean, Eric Lauer. I mean, we're definitely not scared of him. Let's just dig on FanDuel a little bit. Eric Lauer isn't even in the player pool over there. Shout out to FanDuel. No surprises from them. But yeah, we weren't going to consider playing him anyway. But hey, it's the principle of the matter.
Yeah, I mean, you should have Eric Lauer in your player pool. But no, I mean, moving forward, we can go to outfield. I'm actually interested where you go here because there's a lot at the top, and you kind of need to make a few decisions because you're going to have to get some cheaper guys as well.
Yeah, you can't just go with the triple spend up. If I was going to do the triple spend up, I mean, if I had unlimited funds, it would be Ozuna, Acuna, Betts, I think, right? As the
Yep.
top three
Yeah.
spend up options for me. I think I got gun to my head, have to choose one between Acuna and Betts tonight. I might be rolling out Mookie. I don't know how you feel about that. I know we like the Braves, but Mookie, notorious lefty masher here at the top of the order. We already said how we like the bats behind him. If he gets on, he's going to do some damage and score some runs. Another guy that's interesting is Adolis Garcia. He's been great to start the year. We already said how Martin Perez doesn't have a lot of strikeout upside here, doesn't miss bats, and that's Garcia's weakness right now. So if he's going to make contact with Martin Perez, he definitely has some upside. Roof is closed today in Arlington. Always like when they have some nice weather and it's open, but roof is closed today.
Yeah, I'll say we do have a good amount of value. We have Garcia is 3,800. Joey Gallo, who people generally don't play lefty lefty, but he is actually a very good lefty hitter, is 3,600. I really like him hitting third. AJ Pollock is 3,100. He's hitting seventh, obviously, is in play against a left-handed pitcher. Then you have just like other guys that I don't necessarily know if you're really going to want to use. Like Eli White is hitting ninth, but he's only 2,200. Marisnik is hitting seventh. I don't know. He's in the Cubs lineup, which we kind of have already talked about that we want to use. I don't really think that this is the time to use him, but he's only 2,800. If Cordero's in, he's only 2,400. So there's a lot of spend down spots here, but in terms of spend ups, I actually think that I like Acuna a little bit more than Betts, but I think that both are really elite plays.
Yeah, I got one more for you. I've got the 1% owned spend down cheap guy to win you the slate here. A little bit of leverage, and you can do some weird stuff here. I feel like this is a play that AC would love here. But how about a little Billy McKinney hitting in the middle of this Brewers order against home run prone Trevor Bauer at 2.1K here?
Oh man,
How about that,
I
Bales?
can't believe you just said
How
McKinney.
about that on a little short slate here? 2.1K Billy McKinney. Listen, if you want to get some leverage in tournaments, these are the type of plays we got to make here on a 4-game slate. But yeah, I agree.
I get it.
I don't love it either. But I mean, you're rattling off some of these cheap options. They're not great, you know?
No, I completely agree. I feel like I would be much more inclined to play McKinney if it was like literally anyone besides Bauer, but I understand it because McKinney's got the power. I don't know. It's just so hard to play someone like that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not excited about it. And, I'd love to get in more of that mid range with guys like Pollock and even Heredia and whatnot.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think that about does it. Let's make Ben proud here and end this with a home run call. Who do you have?
Ooh, I actually didn't put any thought to this yet. It's not going to be Billy McKinney. Sorry to the McKinney fans out there. I'm going to go Anthony Rizzo. That's who I'm going tonight. I'm going to go Anthony Rizzo for my home run call tonight.
I like that. I'm going to go with lefty Joey Gallo.
I like that. I like that call a lot. I bet you get some nice ownership on that. These people are somehow terrified. Hitters forget how to hit when they're not in platoon friendly matchups.
That's all we got for you guys today. We will be back tomorrow. Everyone, please go enjoy the NFL draft tonight. Stop making up rumors about Aaron Rodgers. We're sick of it. I guess we'll see what happens tonight. But
yeah, I will.
As always,
I actually will. I'll have a live blog on the site tonight, breaking down every pick and giving them all grades. So that'll be fun.
I can already tell you that Mac Jones will get an A+ grade from Rube, and it's going to be pretty terrible.
No, I've already actually put some thought behind it. I already have my grade ready. It's not an A+, so but you're gonna have to go check it out to find out what I do give him.
That is on dfskarma.com. That's also where you find all of our free articles. You can go on, get in our Discord for free. We're always talking in there. Find our core plays. You can purchase packages for as little as $5. Highly recommend. Ben has just been on just an incredible run with Optimal. It's been pretty crazy, but that is all that we have for you guys today. So we'll see you tomorrow.